We are to follow him, but we may walk a different path. It's different for everybody, male and female. It's different. How do we determine how to walk our path? Stop, look, and listen. You remember that little thing they taught us in school when we was crossing the street? They taught us it's very important first to stop. Just don't go ahead and step out there. You might get run over. The way a lot of people drive today, Esther's testimony this morning was a good example. Without paying attention, guy might have been on the cell phone and said, oop, there's a stop sign. Better go ahead and run it. You never know. But stop. You know, we have a hard time listening anymore because we're on the go so much. Because we are distracted. Because there's so much going on in our lives and around us, we have a really difficult time hearing from the Lord. Sometimes it takes a while to hear. I wish that all of us could be like Samuel. Samuel heard from the Lord. First time God spoke that night, he didn't know what was going on. Second time, he still wasn't really sure. The third time, but it all happened in one night. And when he announced that God was speaking to him, it did two things. And we need to be careful about announcing our calling. We need to announce our calling. It gave him confidence. Same way with your salvation. With the heart man believeth the righteous, with the mouth confession is made to salvation. Confessing things, that's important. It's not a name and claim it kind of out there in nowhere land or anything like that. But confession, real confession of real things, is something that's powerful in our lives. And the second thing that did was it alerted Eli, so that Eli could begin to watch over him and train him and concentrate on Samuel. Because there's no self-made men or women. We are all product of our mentors or mentors. Eli became his mentor. Samuel became the great prophet of God. He anointed the first and in type the everlasting King of Israel. Our walk, we had to stop. Samuel that night, when he went back and he laid down and he listened again. He had to stop before he could hear. We need to stop and examine our walk. It's a very profitable thing to stop occasionally and take assessment of what we're doing, how we're doing it. It's a better way to do it. When we went to Kenya about 12 years ago, Brother Henry wanted to, probably been longer than that, Brother Henry. That first trip, Brother Henry was installing plumbing in the Calvary Worship Center there in Nairobi, and it was all galvanized pipe. It wasn't even very good galvanized pipe. Henry wanted to change their system to copper. At that time, copper was the greatest thing ever. Still pretty good. Then came along PEX. And now it's the greatest thing ever. But Henry could have still been putting in galvanized pipe. It's still available. It's still around. But it's not the best. It's what they had. We have to stop and take assessment of how we're doing things. And make sure that we are still doing them in a fashion that will be profitable in the kingdom. Profitable. We want to be profitable servants. Then we look at what the needs around us. Your calling is coupled with how you see things. What you see, what catches your attention in God. Look at the needs around you. It won't take you very long to find something to do. A lot of us are multi-purpose, multitasking. And we can do a lot of different things. But we need to concentrate on that one thing that we hear God speaking to us about. It may be raising a family. There's no dishonor, that's not a lowly thing. That's one of the greatest things that people can do. Is raise their children up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord and spend their time doing that. Others God has equipped to where they can multitask family and ministry. And to those who do that, they can accomplish both in the church and in their families a great deal. Some He's called simply into the ministry. Paul declared that he could have a wife just like the rest of them. And Paul was not a woman hater. He was not a marriage hater. He was not the pre-Victorian apostle that a lot of people think that he was. Paul just saw the practicality of the thing at that time and for what was just on the horizon. Paul was telling people that if you can, stay single, but if you can't, then get married. It's all in the calling. He said some men were born eunuchs, some were made eunuchs, some became eunuchs for the Lord. What is your walk? A lot of it is in what's working for you. Looking at the needs around you and listen. Listen to what God is saying. The God doesn't always speak in an audible voice as He did to Samuel on that night. He speaks to us through events. He speaks to us through needs. He'll speak to us as we get into the Word and study it. Speak to us through others. But we need to listen to what God is saying about our walk. And it takes time. When we're young Christians, we want to do everything, don't we, Brother Henry? We're happy if we're busy for the Lord. Just being busy. And that's good. You can learn a lot. Everybody, I think, needs to go through that phase where they try something. Try everything. Because you'll learn a lot. You'll learn a lot about what your walk is supposed to be. One of the most profound things I heard when I was in Kenya this past December was this. We'd sat down at the supper table with Pastor Njagi and his family, and Brother Bob and Sister Toma. And Brother Bob and Sister Toma have poured resources and time into the ministry there in Soweto. There's a 4-story primary school that's just nearly completed. And they don't want it to be just a church thing. They want to have children out of all the community come to that school. But in order to do that, they have to meet certain government requirements, much like we do here. One of those requirements is that they have a sitting board, that they have a chairman of the board, so that the school can be run decently and orderly, that there can be accountability there in the school, the things that they're doing, the people that are working there. And Rachel, Pastor Njagi's daughter, is pretty much heading up the school effort and doing a good job of it. But when she was confronted with this requirement about the school having a board, she just automatically listed her father's name, Bob and Thoma's names, and on and on and on. Of course, that won't work for Bob and Toma because they're not citizens. They're not there 12 months out of the year. And so they told her that couldn't work. And then her father, Pastor Njagi, told her, I can't be on the board either. He said this, and this is a profound thing that I heard while I was there. It's not my walk. It's not my walk. I can't be tied up in businesses and things like that. It's not my walk. My walk is to pastor the church. My walk is to evangelize. My walk is to be out busy in the community and the areas around it, doing what my walk is, which for him is primarily preaching. We have to learn how to tell people sometimes that it's not my walk. Sometimes we do have to submit to do things that we don't think are involved in our walk because the need is so great. And how do we make our walk successful? We have to know what it is. We have to know what we're to do. We have to listen to God about it. We have to remember that it takes time to find that path. Some people get discouraged early on in their preaching and their ministry because it doesn't seem like it's doing anything. It just takes time to find that path. Finally, we have to remember that we